Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Vlogs. It's been a while. The last time we actually did a vlog was, I think, for, Iron Fist. We finished up Iron Fist, and originally it was supposed to be the Defenders that was going to be the next one, but we got kind of a happy announcement where the Netflix anime of Castlevania was going to be released on July 7th. So, as of this recording, a week has passed, and I have since watched the 4 episodes that actually debuted, and I'm here to talk about them. Now, I did say earlier in the week that it was going to be 1 episode at a time like I usually do these vlogs. Here's the thing, though. I've seen the entire thing. So at that point, I can just talk about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this one video and give you my thoughts. The second thing is, I have heard you guys' feedback. I do talk a lot about the spoilers. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pull that back a little bit as you guys have asked. And hopefully, because of that, we'll be able to get some less lengthy videos, and you'll be able to just get my opinions on the matter. So, a little bit of background first. Obviously, you guys know, if you've listened to any of my videos, I'm a very big Castlevania fan. I've been a Castlevania fan since I was a kid, playing the original, and eventually moved on into the other games. I'm very much a Castlevania fan, so much so that I actually am a rarity because I don't have a problem with the Lords of Shadow games. I know a few people have problems with it, including my my co-panelist on the Geek News podcast, Stephen Romney. He doesn't really like the Lords of Shadow games. I don't hate them. Am I saying they're the greatest games ever? No, but considering that 3D Castlevania games have gone through a really rough transition, they aren't bad. And I'm at least willing to say that. They are at least an enjoyable experience compared to, say, like, Castlevania 64. Or, I would actually dare say the PS2 ones as well, because I did play them, and I did enjoy the story, but the gameplay was kind of a slog to go through both of them. Especially Curse of Darkness, because Curse of Darkness just made me sit there and go, what? A lot of the time. But yeah, so that's my history with the Castlevania series. Leading up into this anime, I'd heard numerous iterations of this being taken on, numerous directors who wanted to do either TV or film, and a lot of them wanted to do the story that this does, which is the story of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, which is the story of Trevor Belmont and his journey to take out Dracula, which supposedly is like the first time that it actually happens in the timeline. So a lot of them have occurred with Trevor and being able to put his little band together, as you do in the game, to take out Dracula. And I've seen numerous one of these. I was actually getting so skeptical that I'm like, every time I heard a Castlevania film or TV announcement, I'm like, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And then Netflix came along, and we got Studio Frederator, who is behind Adventure Time, animating it. And we got Adi Shankar as the producer. And Adi Shankar, if you don't know who he is, if you've watched Power Slash Rangers, you know who Adi Shankar is. He's more responsible for that. And so we already had this announcement happen, and I was already wary of it. But let's get into my thoughts for Castlevania. I'm going to go into the positives first, because frankly, I could judge this into oblivion, but I do actually want to acknowledge a lot of really good ideas in there. I like the fact that we got a lot more depth into characters. We got a lot of nods to the Castlevania game series, especially with Dracula's Curse as well as Symphony of the Night. I do like the fact that they try to add in these little Easter eggs to be able to help explain a little bit more of like why Dracula hates us so much and why Dracula wants to destroy humanity. And this actually does that really, really well and gives it a very well-established motive for Dracula to be able to do it. And it makes sense, too, especially in the context of the later games that we have. Also, another major compliment that I will give is the voice cast in the series. Despite some issues that I had with the sound mixing, actually were really good picks. Richard Armitage, in particular, as Trevor Belmont, I feel like he gets the character. He gets especially the character that they're trying to write, which is not really a hero or an anti-hero. He's a lovable rogue kind of guy, but at the same time, he's the only reason that he is this way is because of the church, and so many circumstances have brought him down to this point that he actually does consider like not fulfilling the Belmont legacy. And I liked how they actually personified that, and I loved Richard Armitage's performance doing that. I know my buddy Romney had a lot of hiccups in his performance, and I would technically agree with a lot of them, but I don't necessarily say that they, they are few and far between compared to the actual stuff. When we actually do delve into Trevor, do we get some really good story moments from him. I also want to compliment the I can't remember his name. It's like James Callis, who plays Alucard. He does a really great job. If you don't know him, he's Gaius Baltar in the new BSG. He does a really great job, and I think he understands Alucard as well. I would also compliment Tony Amendola, who, I mean, he does so great in any voice acting that he does. I mean, he's great as Khadgar in World of Warcraft. He's great as Braytak in Stargate SG-1. And as the Speaker Elder, he's delivering very much the same performance that he tries to deliver in all of his other roles. So I'll give him that compliment, as well as the actor of Dracula. I can't remember him off the top of my head, but I loved a lot of the interactions that we got with Dracula. So I'm going to say that the voice cast was good. And I think the picks were right. But when we get into negatives, you'll see the problems with it. The animation was gorgeous. I actually liked a lot of the gothic atmosphere that they were trying to capture, and I think they did it well. I love the fact that the personification of Dracula was a mind made of metal and wheels. The fact that machinery kind of signified the evils of Dracula, whereas a simple life was considered, the best way to go. The animation always had really good shots of churches, of the castle itself, of villages that made you just kind of sit there in awe and go, yeah, I could easily have that still image on my computer as a wallpaper. So I'll give those that. I will also give credit where I think a little is due, and that is the combat. This will also show up in my complaints, but we'll get there when we get there. And that is that some of the combat looks really, really good, but it has issues as we go along. And so I do want to acknowledge those positives first. I think this series does. I think Adi Shankar and the director get Castlevania, but they had some issues, and let's go ahead and delve right into them. First of all, I'm not going to go into the biggest argument right off the bat, but let's get into the sound mixing. Like I said, I think the actors did good performances, but you wouldn't be able to tell because the dude who was sound mixing this apparently had like defunct headphones, and the volume is turned down so low on some characters that if you don't have subtitles going, you have no idea what's going on. It's just a silent image to you. In particular, there was a bishop, and I can't remember who actually played him, and I felt bad for him because this guy was delivering, I think, a decent performance. I think the director could have gotten a little bit more out of him, but I think he was delivering a decent performance. You wouldn't be able to tell that, though, because he was so low. This is one of those things where I think the directors could have said, you guys can enunciate, you guys can project so that we can actually hear you. And the director didn't do that. And I know that it wasn't the actors necessarily that was the problem. I really do believe it was the writers, it was the director that said, no, we don't need you to project, we need you to be quiet. And it doesn't work in this kind of concept because I have to jack up the volume so loud that the next monster that comes through is going to wreck my eardrums. So that really does hurt the voice cast as well as the overall sound design of the show. Second complaint with sound design. Was there even any music in it? I'm asking honestly. I think there were a couple of moments where I caught music and it was there, but the rest of the series, I'm like sitting there going, for a video game series that's so well known for music, there is no music here. There were actual moments that were just straight silent, and some of them worked because they were trying to fill the gothic atmosphere. But some of them, I'm just like sitting there going, you could have easily filled like this combat scene or whatever with da 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 da. You could have easily done that, and I know that. I mean, obviously they do say that Konami has approved of this series to some extent. Why did you talk to them about using the actual music assets? Really? I don't get the reasoning there. But yeah, there's a lot of moments here where if there's music in there, I can't even tell. And that could easily also be the sound mixing as a problem. It could be. I have no idea. Okay, now that I've calmed down a little bit. So we've gone into the sound design. I actually do want to get in some visuals here. This series wanted to cater to a gothic atmosphere. And I think for the most part they did well. The problem was a lot of moments were ruined because of the excessive gore, or the fact that Adi or whoever wanted to focus on a particular shot for far too long. And in some cases, those moments were unnecessary. The best one that I know of is, the best one that I can describe is there's a moment where we go into Dracula's background a little bit. And he meets up with this old lady and finds out about things that were happening to his wife, Lisa. The reason that he actually goes off and fights is because his wife, Lisa, was murdered. This is something that we've already kind of gotten in the Castlevania series, so I don't really feel like that's a spoiler. But he meets this old woman who apparently was friends with her while he was off being, or doing whatever Dracula does. And all of a sudden she realizes just how much of a demon he is, and they focused on her face for a good 2 to 3 minutes until a tear starts to go out. Like, there's fire just growing in her eyes, and you could see it. But what we wanted to see, which was the tear that was eventually going to come through saying, oh, the horror, it took like a solid 1.5 to 2 minutes for that tear to come out. So I was like, so we sat on here for way too long. And I'm not saying it's Ava levels of stupid there, but it is high up there. And there are a lot of moments that don't need to be still shots. The still shot came later and was much better executed then, not in this particular moment. So I will also give a downside to that as well. The final complaint that I have, and I know a few people have said that this is a dumb thing to complain about. I don't think it is, which is, I find it funny that as of this video, Season 2 has been approved for Castlevania. I do not agree with that. Do you want to know why I don't agree with that? It's not Season 2. It's Season 1, Part 2. This is 4 30-minute episodes. There's not enough. And what I'm saying basically is that let's just take this into the context of an anime. For example, Cowboy Bebop. So you start things off with Jet and Spike, and then eventually get Ein, and then eventually get Faye, and then eventually get Ed, and then you have the crew. But it takes like 4 or 5 episodes for you to gather everybody together. And so, and I'm not saying that's bad, but that's a usual trope. I mean, Trigun did it too. Millie and Meryl were looking around for Vash, and they didn't know that they met Vash, but when they do, they group up with him, and eventually you get to meet Nicholas Wolfwood. That's what they do. They establish the group together, and that's what these 4 episodes were. Establishing why Dracula hates humans, why he executes a war on them, establishing Trevor Belmont, Sypha, I'm going to say Belnades because I'm going to murder Belnades if I have to say it numerous times, and Alucard. It establishes those 3 characters and why they need to get together and why they need to face off with Dracula. This wasn't enough for a first season. I would have had no problem waiting additional time for those other 8 episodes, which are coming in Season 2, and then having a 12-episode season. I'd have no issue with that, but this is ridiculous. I actually thought it was a great idea. Like, 4 episodes, that's pretty daunting. Like, you're going to cover a lot of material in 4 episodes? No, they really don't. And at that point, it left me leaving more. And I just don't want to call it Season 1, because it isn't. This is an incomplete season. And already, since we have Season 2 approved, I can already tell you that it's going to pick up where this thing left off. It's probably going to have a better conclusion than this. And therefore, that's the end of Season 1. So that's like my biggest beef with this, is that I'm not saying it's the series. If you're a Castlevania fan, you're going to enjoy this overall. But for what did you get your money's worth? I would actually say no, you didn't. You got roughly about a quarter of your money's worth. And that sucks. So I'm not saying that the series is bad by any stretch. I think it's got a tremendous amount of potential, and I think they're doing good things with it. But I would have had no problem waiting the extra 6 months to a year to get all 12 episodes right off the bat. And that's kind of my beef with this right now. And also, whomever is mixing your sound, guys, fire him. fire them. They're not doing a good job here. And even if you have to go take the actors and bring them back in so they can project more, please do it. These characters kind of get ruined when you can't hear what they're saying. But yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for this vlog. So I'm not even going to rate it right now because there's not enough there to rate. But right now I will say for Castlevania fans, I think you're going to completely enjoy what you're watching. Non-Castlevania fans are going to sit there and go, what the crap? Until we have more episodes, and then you're going to be okay with it. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this vlog on the Castlevania series. So this is going to be the only one. We're not going to do episode breakdowns or anything like that. And then we will be back next month for the Defenders. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys for the next video.